And we're back. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Taco Tuesday. Woo! We are back, ready to attack it. There's Mike. What's up, buddy? He's ready to rock and roll. Good morning, Mr. Mike. I saw Tom up in the house. Mr. Steve, Anthony G. What's up, buddy? Corey, the Sizzler. Good freaking morning, traders. Sorry, I'm just trying to get everything tightened up. There we go. We're good. I thought I was live for the past 5 minutes, and I was sitting here, I was talking, I'm like, good morning, and I'm like, no one's hitting me with the good morning. I look down, I hit the start recording button, not the start stream button. So literally, I just recorded myself for 5 minutes talking to myself. It was great, but hopefully you guys are ready to attack it today. We are going to take this time to pick it apart, break everything down, and get you guys prepared for today's trading session. But before we officially dive into the charts and explain what we have for today, we're going to start with today's daily devotional. If you guys do not know, I'm still posting up those devotionals every single morning inside of the Discord group. So a lot of you guys are still in the Discord. If you guys want to go in there and read those devotionals every morning, feel free. We're also doing our announcements in the Discord as well. So any big announcements or anything like that, we're going to post those in the Discord. So at least you guys get those push notifications. And then I'll explain today what else we're going to use Discord for, just for the ease of use with check-ins, updates, announcements, things like that. But again, devotionals are still being posted in the Discord, guys, every single morning. And so I've actually been back in the Gospels. I started again with Matthew. I wanted to go back through the Gospels the back half of this year. So I've been in Matthew the past week. And so today came from Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I'm like, here we go again. There's another one. Doesn't make sense. God, Holy Spirit, speak to me. It's kind of like yesterday's, right? Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And that was yesterday, and I kind of wrestled with it. I'm like, blessed are the poor in spirit. Why would the poor in spirit be blessed? And today it's those who mourn are blessed, right? And I'm like, all right, talk to me, God. I need to understand the real underlying meaning behind it. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Let's just sit with that for a moment. All right, it's not a throwaway line. It's a promise straight from Jesus to anyone walking through sorrow, through grief, or even carrying some pain from a deep loss. He's saying, you're not forgotten in your mourning. In fact, you're seen, you're known, and you're blessed. But how can that be? How can mourning and blessings go hand in hand? Well, here's how. Comfort doesn't mean the absence of pain. It means the presence of God in the middle of that pain. He's not waiting for you to pull yourself together. He's already beside you, ready to bring you peace that doesn't make sense and the healing that goes deeper than words. No one values rain like someone who's walked through a desert. No one cherishes comfort like someone who feels broken. And no one encounters God as a comforter more intimately than the one who truly needs to be comforted. So what does that mean for us today? You know, if you're grieving, God isn't distant. He's drawing near to you. So draw near to him. If you're mourning, doesn't mean you're weak. You're blessed and you're seen by the Savior himself. If you're hurting, there's hope. And it's not in your ability to heal, but in his ability to carry you through. So if you're mourning, you are blessed. God is drawing near to you. God will provide you with that comfort in this period if you're dealing with anything. Draw near to him, and he'll draw near to you. Jesus doesn't just ignore your pain. He enters into it with you. He wants to carry that for you. He wants to be your healer. He's the one that offers comfort that no one else can give. And when you mourn, he doesn't just notice it. He promises to meet you exactly where you are. So don't rush past your grief. Let Jesus meet you in your grief. Ask him to comfort your heart in ways that only he can. Open yourself up to his nearness and let his peace begin to mend what's hurting. So even in mourning, when you're carrying grief, when you have some pain you're carrying, you're hurting, all right, you're not alone. And that is good news. And that right there is exactly what Matthew's talking about. Blessed are those who mourn, because those who mourn need comfort, and they receive that comfort from God, from Jesus, and that fact of drawing near and cultivating a stronger, deeper, more meaningful relationship, right? That's a blessing. That's a blessing. So amen to that. Matthew dropping some value bombs like always. Always dropping the value bombs. Matthew, loving it. That was today's devotional, ladies and gentlemen. And so, okay, the moment you guys been waiting for, you want to definitely talk stocks. I get it, right? But we always have time to put God front and center. So we're going to dive into it. Steve said he hasn't been to Discord since Chatter went live. Yet the Discord's still open. If you guys still have the apps, you guys are still getting push notifications. Just go ahead and stay in the server. Keep Discord downloaded if you want. It's completely up to you. It's just for ease of use. Right, easier for everybody to do their check-ins in Discord, easier to send updates and announcements through Discord with the push notifications. So we're going to keep it for those reasons, but a bulk of what we do is obviously still here, home, market chatter, right? But we're good. Banks sell off loans, especially long-term ones like mortgages, tie up a significant amount of a bank's capital by selling loans. Banks receive cash up front, which they... Oh, you're answering a question. I was like, what are we reading here? Sure, more loans be issued by depending. So I'm just reading through all this. Make sure I'm up and running. Make sure I'm good. I'm dialed in. I got all your questions answered. Make sure we're all set. All right. Let's talk about the SPY. We can't talk Qs today. You want to know why we can't discuss the Qs? Because when you go to a daily chart on QQQ, that's what you get. It's 2 days worth of data. It's not loading the daily chart. So if you guys want me to do analysis on QQQ, you're shit out of luck. I can't really do a lot with the Qs today. I got 2 daily candles to work with. Come on. But we can definitely go pick apart the SPY. Look at that. The daily chart loads. Woohoo. So here's what we want to go ahead and do on the SPY. Is we saw a nice expansion yesterday, right? We were consolidating. We were really, really tight over the past, couple of weeks. And so we initially saw that nice move down at the open, got bought right back up, middle of the day, came down even lower, hit some lower time frame demand. And we had a really strong push yesterday. I mean, look at that nice big pop. That was a nearly $8 to $9 move to the upside off yesterday's low a day. And so what else do you notice about yesterday? We had a nice increase in volume. So that's something we noticed as well, is a nice increase in volume. And we had a nice strong close near yesterday's high a day. And so the way I see this is we're breaking out of consolidation, obviously, right? And we had a really nice push into the close yesterday to close strong near yesterday's high a day with that increase in volume. Typically, when you see this, you'll get a second day of continuation, right? In this case, we had a nice bullish day. So typically, we get a nice second day of upside continuation. But you can absolutely flip this and invert this, right? If you saw a period of consolidation and you break down and you have a strong weak close near low a day, you're typically looking for that second day of downside continuation. So the same thing applies if you invert this or flip it upside down. But we see the strong push to the upside, strong close near high a day, increase in volume, breaking out of consolidation. I'm leaning more towards the, hey, we could see a second day of upside continuation. But really where the odds start to stack in our favor with that kind of opportunity is if we gap up on the second day, right? So we would need to see a gap up today in order to get that second day of continuation to the upside and at least have, higher odds in our favor that's where we're going to see the market go today. So I want to check, are we gapping up today in pre-market? Yeah, big time, right? We closed at $600 last night. We're at 604.50. So we got a $4 gap up. So we're looking for definitively that second day of upside continuation, right? So what I want to go ahead and do is just mark up yesterday's close and high a day with the zone, right? I just want to go ahead and mark this area up. We know we're going to be gapping up today, right? That's a pretty big gap up. A $4 gap up. Usually we get like maybe a 50 cent, a dollar gap up to where we open, say like here, and we're much closer to the prior day high and close. This is a $4 gap up potentially. I mean, anything could happen. Market doesn't open for another, 50 minutes? So, I mean, hey, we could gap down. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 50 minutes. But if we do see that gap up and we open around 604, we're asking for a lot. We're asking for about a $4 drop to the downside to close the gap into yesterday's close and high a day. So will we see that? We possibly, right? Possibly, but it's a $4 move back down before that long would even set up. So it's going to take a little bit more time, right, to see the SPY potentially come down $4 to the downside before we can even get long on that trade in the first place, versus it gapping up 50 cents. Well, we need to see it drop 50 cents to get long. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a larger gap up. It's going to take a little bit more work to see it come back down into yesterday's high and close. But that would be the goal, right? Gap up, open, come right down into the prior day high and close, that zone that we just marked up. And as long as we see that hold as intraday support, we know most of the time we get that second day of upside continuation and we see momentum carry through. So that's going to be like the first plan, right? If we see the SPY get back down to that zone, just built off yesterday's close and high a day. It's $600.15 to $600.53. We come down and hit that zone and we hold it today. That's the area that we want to be playing calls and looking to get long, right? But let's say we don't see it come down to that lower area, right? What else do we have here on the SPY? Well, let's go ahead and look at the daily and let's get an idea of where the SPY could go. Because that is the $1 million question. You're probably like, Josh, how's that a $1 million question? Well, if you take like 10,000 contracts, you probably make $1 million. So it is a $1 million question. All right, so we're on the daily, and right now we're just doing daily zone analysis. So zones of support resistance. And if you guys are struggling lately with finding like key high probability zones, it's okay. You're working through a lot of this previous daily chop. So it is a bit more of a challenge to really see those zones clearly because you're building these zones through a lot of that daily chop. So it's going to take you a little bit more time to really just work those zones and get them dialed in. But it is a bit more of a challenge. So if you're like, man, am I doing something wrong? No, it's just a little bit tougher when you're working through a lot of that daily chop to really just get clear and dial those zones in. But we do have this zone right hither. It's between 602.94 to 603.47. That's going to be a solid daily zone of support resistance. Let's go build another zone to the upside here. Like, how are you finding these zones, Josh? Well, it's a simple little methodology that I put together to identifying these zones. It literally just consists of multiple hits inside of a zone. And then the second thing I look for is sharp, significant reactions. Sharp, significant moves away from the zone. And so as long as it meets those two main points of criteria, it's a high probability zone. So we can see that this zone has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's got like 12 hits, 12 different touch points off the zone. Perfect. The second thing I'm looking for is sharp reactions. Like once we've hit the zone, did we see a sharp move away from that level? Well, yeah, right here. On June 11th, we came up, hit that level as high a day, and we had a pretty sizable drop on off, right? And we didn't need that high a day to build this zone. This zone was already valid based on our analysis back here, right? But we did come up on the 11th, hit that zone as high a day, and we dropped on off, right? So nice sharp move off the zone. Do we have any other really sharp moves? Well, I like this. We had a gap up, open, low a day, big pop, nice squeeze into like previous all-time highs back here. So that was a pretty nice move off that zone. We had a really nice gap up, low a day. So we had that big gap up, put in a low a day there. Next day, we open, come down, hit that level, and have a big pop off that zone. So we do see pretty sharp moves, sharp reactions off the zone. So it's a dialed in zone, right? So that gives us 1, 2, 3 daily zones. Where are we at? We are sitting near that top zone that we just identified. Right? And that top zone was between 605.06 to 605.58. So we need to go grab one more to the upside. Why is that? Well, what if we see the SPY breaking that 605 zone and holding above it? Well, we're going to see more potential to the upside. Let's go find our next daily zone of resistance here on the SPY, and that should wrap us up on the daily. And then we'll flip down into like a 4-hour time frame and start looking at lower time frame areas of supply and demand. right? So we're going to have this daily zone between 606.42 to 607.02 is going to be your next daily zone to the upside. So they look pretty tight together, right? You're like, that's going to be pretty limited to the upside if we see it set up long. But it's actually a $2 window from zone to zone. So there's still great opportunity. So if we break that 605 zone today and we stay above it as intraday support, what would we do? We would simply get long and play calls off that 605 zone and play it up into our 607 zone. So again, there's still about a $2 window from zone to zone. And we can absolutely print on a $2 move. So that's going to be game plan number one, guys. If we come up and break that 605 zone and stay above it, we're going to play calls to like 606.50 to 607. About $1.50 to $2 of upside potential. But if we come up into that 605 zone and we top out, right, and we just fail to break above it, we're just going to play some puts off that zone. Where to? Our 603 zone, right? And that lower zone around 603 to be exact, it's between 602.94 to 603.47. That's going to be that lower zone of support that we would look to play puts down into. All right. So we've done daily analysis. We got our key zones of support resistance. Do we have any daily supply or demand? Not anywhere nearby. So nothing where price is going to get to today. And then do we have any nearby daily gaps that we can come inside and start to fill today? We don't have any daily gaps to be filled. So all we really have on the daily is just our key zones of support resistance. Let's flip the SPY down into a 4-hour time frame, and let's see what else we have, guys. Maybe we have some 4-hour supply, 4-hour demand that we can continue to build out. So let's go 4-hour. Let's go look left, and let's see what we have. You had that little supply zone here on a 4-hour. Right? But you could already see price has ran through it as of yesterday. I mean, you ran up into it, you reacted down a bit, but price is above it, so that supply zone on the 4-hour has been mitigated. So there's nothing there. Next supply zone's not until we get up into the 610s. So again, do I think we're going to get up into the 610s today? I mean, it's possible. It's possible. We're at 604 right now, but you're asking for another 6 points to the upside. Yeah, we'll see. But I would still say let's go mark it up. Let's just still mark up that supply zone just so we have it. So it starts on the daily. We have this base drop formation on the daily. So let's just go ahead and mark up that daily supply. And then we'll go mark up that 4-hour supply that we just noticed. So there's your daily supply zone. That's going to be between like 610.36 to 611.69. We know we have that 4-hour supply zone right there. So we're going to go ahead and mark up that 4-hour. We see that the 4-hour is inside of the daily. So we got two zones that stack. And then we'll go ahead and flip down into a 1-hour time frame. And we're doing the same thing. We're looking to see if we have any good structure and good 1-hour supply. Yeah. Nice little rally. Nice base. Big impulsive move to the downside. There's the drop. There's going to be your 1-hour supply zone. So what do you guys start to notice? The 1 hour's inside of the 4-hour. The 4-hour zones inside of the daily. So I have 3 zones on top of zones, right? I got zones on zones. These zones are stacked, right? What do you notice about these 3 zones that are stacked, right? We can see that there's a really dark shade of red. That's where all 3 of my zones overlap, is the darkest shade of red. That's where my 1 hour overlaps my 4-hour, that overlaps my daily. That's the area that I want to be getting short inside of. Right? So the exact area, the region where I would want to get short would be between 610.90 to 611.20. Right? That's going to be this really tight overlap. And it's about 30 cents of an overlap. This is going to be the next best area to play any kind of puts. Right? For a nice little scalp. But you're asking for a lot. We're at 604 right now. That area is not until you get into the 611s. Right? So that may not happen today, but come tomorrow, into the week, if we see the SPY hitting that overlapping supply, that's going to be an area that I take puts, right? So that's what we have on the SPY, guys. Do we have anything else nearby? So we're on a 1-hour time frame. We're looking at current price, and we're looking to see, do we have any key areas? Yeah, I mean, you got this nice little 1 hour supply zone. You got your little rally, base, rally formation. So we're just going to go ahead and mark it up. It's valid. It's clear. It's there. So there's some demand here. Rally yesterday. We based. Nice impulse, right? A lot of volume pushed through, too. There was about 100,000 shares through that impulse, even in after hours last night around like 7 p.m. So that's a nice impulse to the upside. Nice follow through. So there's going to be some 1 hour demand chilling down up against that lower zone of support that we just discussed on the SPY. And then let's go finish this up on a 30-minute time frame, and we should be good to go. The 30-minute zone to be the exact same as the hourly zone. So this is what we're left with, guys. This is what we're left with. We got these 4 daily zones of support resistance, and then we have some of this 1 hour demand that sits at yesterday's high and close, that lower zone. So that's still the top best of the best plan for today, guys, is if the SPY gets down into that low $600 zone, yesterday's high and close, we fill the gap today, and we pop and we validate and respect some of that 1 hour demand, that's going to be the area that I'm looking to play calls and get long, still with the idea of we get that second day of upside continuation. Until then, we'll just look to trade strategically off of these daily zones of support resistance. All right, that's it. It's pretty simple. If we come down to that 603 zone and you hold it to support, play calls. Right? If you come down to that 603 zone, you fall below it, stay below it, play puts. Just wait to see what the stock's doing off of these zones and then just simply trade accordingly. All right? So that's what we got today on the SPY, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys have any questions about the SPY? Anything that doesn't make sense? Anything that you missed? Just go ahead and let me know. I want to make sure you guys are 100% dialed in, that you have these zones identified. You have an idea of what our game plans are for today, how I'm looking to navigate the market, how I'm looking to make some cash. Yeah, the other day it was IWM. Now it's the Qs. I can't even analyze the Qs today, man. Wild. Do you draw in 15-minute or last is 1 hour, bro? I'll go down into my 15-minute and even a 5-minute when identifying supply and demand. So I stopped at a 30 because I already had zones that stacked on top of zones. So I had a daily inside of a 4 hour, and then I had my 1 hour inside of the 4 hour, right? So I already had my 3 zones that I need. So I'm okay with that. But if I only had a 1 hour zone, then I would want to go to a 30-minute, see if I have any 30-minute supply demand, go down into a 15-minute supply demand. As long as I have my 3 zones that stack and overlap, I'm good. Yeah, I can't even look at the Qs. When I go to the Qs and I look at the daily chart, I have 2 daily candles. Like, okay, cool. Where's resistance? That high. Where's support? That low. I can't do anything on the Qs, man. I get 2 daily candles. So no analysis on the Qs today. I guess it's just all the SPY, which is fine. I like the SPY. We got some good opportunity today. All right. Cool. So what do you guys want to look at? Since we can't dissect the Qs, go ahead and drop some individual stocks that you want to take a look at. We'll analyze it. We'll talk about what we got going on. Mr. Tom's ready to rock with Boeing. All right, Boeing. We thinking about a swing trade or a day trade, good sir? Swing trade. All right, swing trade it is. Boeing. Let's go into our larger time frames here. Since we're thinking swing trade, we're going to start on a monthly time frame and just do some monthly analysis, primarily supply demand. But if we see anything else that just clearly stands out, we'll continue to do some analysis here on a monthly time frame here on Boeing. So we're looking at where current price is, and we're just doing some supply demand analysis. Look up to the left. Do we have any supply? That's that big ass zone right there. That's way up there. But there's your rally base drop. So big zone up there. We had some demand here. Price came through it, but there was your demand way back here that was created. And that's just, again, looking at the monthly time frame where you have some of your monthly demand, decent impulse out, comes back down, little drop base, bigger impulse to the upside, much bigger. So let's go ahead and readjust because that was a valid impulse. Just not crazy about how big the body is, but there was the break of the oppositional leg. There was the gap up, the impulse. That looks a lot better. Price comes down, hits those unfilled orders, pops up. We have yet to come to supply. So there's your monthly supply demand, nearest zones, nearest levels. Let's go into a weekly now because there's nothing else I see that we're going to do on a monthly. Right, and we just see on a monthly, we've been pretty much sideways for a very extended period of time. I mean, where's your floor at on Boeing? I mean, your floor's down here at 121. Your ceiling's been at, 267, and we've been kind of stuck since COVID. Since that, breakdown during COVID, this 4 to 5 year range we've been sitting in. It's a large range, right? Top of the range, top resistance, 267. Bottom of the range, lower support, 121. But you see, we've really just been sideways for about 4 or 5 years. Just up and down in this range. So where do I think we're going next? Probably back to the top of the range, right? Inside of some of that monthly supply. We came down to the bottom of the range, hit demand. We're pushing to the upside. Where do I think we're going to go next? Well, top of the range, back up to supply before we see Boeing move any lower. But that's just what we have on a monthly time frame. Let's go into a weekly, and let's see if we have anything else on a weekly that stands out. I do like the leg up on Boeing. That's the first thing that really stands out to me is we have a high, a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, higher high. Then we have this breakdown again, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high. And so what do we see? That's a pretty strong move to the upside, right? This is a nice leg up. This is a nice leg up. We come down, hit demand. We have a really strong push, and we get a break over all of these prior highs, right? All of this resistance that started early this year, we broke above it, right? So this is a nice leg to the upside. This is leg number 1. So what would we want to ideally do? Identify where the retracement would fall to get long to trade the second leg to the upside. So that's what I'm seeing. First leg up, off demand. We could pull back and then see a push for the second leg. So that's the objective, is to identify where the higher low is most likely to form so we can play that second leg long to the upside. Okay? We know where we would get long too. We got some monthly supply up there. And now we just have to identify where that retracement could be. And there's a couple things that I see that stand out to me beautifully. All right? But let's do some weekly supply demand analysis. What do we have? We have this rally, base drop. So let's go ahead and mark up your weekly supply. That lands inside of your monthly supply, up in the 260s. Go ahead and mark up your weekly supply zone. All right, let's go look at some weekly demand. All right, nice little rally-based rally formation right here. So let's go ahead and mark up the closest area of demand we have on a weekly. Again, we have this rally, base, rally. So there's some demand here on a weekly. You're going to have this area of demand as well. Right? Because again, we have this rally, base, rally. So those are your two lower zones of weekly demand. We have our weekly supply overhead. And since we've identified that this is a valid leg, this is a valid first leg to the upside, what could we do? Take a fib retracement from the swing low, drag it up to the swing high. So we're going to go ahead and put a fib retracement on this. All right? Now, I want you to look at the fib retracement and see, does it line up with any of those demand zones? The only thing that I see is this top demand zone right here lines up with the 38.2 fib retracement level, and it also lines up with the 200-day moving average. Well, actually, that's the 200-week moving average. So you do have the 200-week SMA sitting right where the 38.2 retracement is, sitting right where that weekly demand is. So we're already starting to see that this is a pretty realistic area where we see that higher low form. You're on the weekly, and then start to see that next weekly leg to the upside. All right, but we want to go finish this off on a daily now. Okay, so let's go into a daily time frame and see what else we have on a daily. And we'll wrap this this analysis up on Boeing. So, all right, cool. Daily, there's a lot that we see on the daily, right? We got this big daily gap here on Boeing. So we're going to go body to body on this gap. All right, so we got this nice little daily gap here on Boeing. Let's mark that up. Boop. Top of the gap, bottom of the gap. Done. So mark up your daily gap. Looking at current price down to the left. Where do I have any potential daily demand? You got a couple little daily demand zones. There's one right here. Let's go ahead and mark up that daily demand zone. That sits at the very tippity top of weekly demand, right? That's right where the 38.2 retracement is. And there is a little gap to get filled down here too. Check it. You see this little gap? There's a gap here. Gaps like to get filled, right? And we see gap fill bounces. So you got a gap to get filled for a gap fill bounce. You got some weekly, daily demand sitting there. You got that weekly fib retracement level, the 38.2, sits right there as well. And it's right at the 200-week SMA. So we're starting to notice this is a really high probability area to take longs on Boeing. Right back down around this region here, 185. 185 is going to be a nice area that if we get down into it, that's going to be where we start to get long and start to play calls for that swing trade here on Boeing. Go ahead and mark up this little daily gap here. That gap was created during that impulsive move to the upside. So that left behind some of that demand that we see, right? It's looking really good. I like Boeing. I mean, it looks great. Is it going to set up today? No, it's not going to set up today. But do we have something around the corner on Boeing? I think so. Absolutely. So let's really build some plans here based on the analysis that we've done. So where is going to be the best area to get long on Boeing? Well, we already know it's going to be back down around 185. Why is that the best area to get long? You have weekly demand. You have daily demand. You have the weekly 200 SMA as support sitting right there. You can come down and fill that daily gap, right? And see that daily gap get filled and see a bounce, right? And you have that weekly 38.2 fib retracement level that all line up right there. Isn't that surprising that all of these forms of technical analysis that have nothing to do with one another, they all just line up right around the same price of 185? Interesting. Coincidence? I think not. And we can clearly see that we've hit that area's resistance several times. So prior resistance, new support. So how many separate reasons do you have to get long and play calls down around 185? You got like 5 separate reasons to play calls at 185 on Boeing. So we know that's going to be the next best area where we want to get long for a swing trade. So we got some time, right? We're at 203. That's down at 185. So we need to still see this thing drop another 20 points to the downside before we see the best of the best of the best long setup. All right. But what else could we see on Boeing? Right? We could definitely get inside this gap and we could start to fill the gap. Right? So here's what I'm noticing on Boeing is we could definitely get, some trades off the table inside this gap. So if Boeing gets inside the gap, right, and we stay inside the gap, which is basically just holding above 203.81, we can get long for a gap fill long from 203.81 up to 214. That's about a $10 window to the upside. Would that be a good swing trade? Absolutely. Like, I doubt we're going to see Boeing move $10 to the upside in one single day. So this is definitely a gap fill long that could play out over several days. So a short-term swing trade up to that 214 level. And what do we know about gaps? When gaps get filled, we typically see gap fill rejections, where we see a nice move to the downside. So not only could we see a gap fill rejection, we do have some of this daily supply sitting at the top of the gap as well. So what do we have here? We have this nice little drop, base, big drop. So there's going to be some daily supply that sits right at the top of the gap at 214. So what I want to get short for a gap fill rejection at 214, knowing that we have some daily supply sitting right above as well, Abso-freaking-lutely. I would love to play puts at 214. All right. So I'm going to break it down one last time. Recap. If we ever see Boeing down at 185, filling that gap, hitting some of that daily, weekly demand, I want to play calls and get long for a swing trade. That's going to be a great area to play calls. Right? Game plan 2 was a gap fill long. So if Boeing gets inside the gap, stays inside the gap, we're going to play it long up to 214. If we see Boeing filling the gap up at 214, that's where I want to get short for a gap fill rejection off of some of that daily supply as well. That's the next area that I would entertain a short here on Boeing. Right? That's what we got. Monthly, weekly, daily analysis, breaking it down, and that's what I see for Boeing. We are coming up to the bottom of the gap here in pre-market. Like right now, we're at 203.51 in pre-market. The gap level's at 203.81, so I think Boeing's going to set up today. We get inside the gap, stay inside the gap, look to play calls. Buy yourself time, because this is something that'll probably turn into a multi-day swing trade to the long side. And then we'll be waiting for Boeing to get up and fill the gap, hit some of that daily supply, and then see the next opportunity to play puts to the downside. Thank you. I learn more from you in 10 minutes than I do watching full YouTube videos. I hear that a lot. That's awesome, though, man. You know, I've been trading for 10 years. Right. Not only that, I've coached over 1,000 traders since 2019. So I have 5 to 6 years of leadership experience, coaching other traders, helping them find their success in the market. So I've gotten really, really good at not just trading, the skills of trading from me, but I've gotten really, really good at leading and educating others as well. Taking something that's very complex and be able to simplify it down so much that a 10-year-old could potentially understand this. So that's awesome to hear, man. I appreciate it. 10 minutes of watching me do some analysis and break it down is more than what you've learned watching full YouTube videos. That's cool, man. Keep tuning into these. I do these at least 2 to 3 days a week. And 100%, you'll learn a lot. Yeah. You were seeing the same thing I'm bowing? Did I miss some weekly supply here? It looks like I did. Look, Kevin, our supply demand expert, ladies and gentlemen. I definitively missed that weekly, did I not? Well, thank you, Kevin. More eyes in the market, more opportunity, baby. Yeah. I missed a couple little zones there. Thanks, boss man. That's up in the what? What? What are you on? Oh, you're looking at, you sent me a screenshot of AMD. I don't think we're talking Boeing. All right, cool. I don't think we're talking Boeing. Now I look at your screenshots. I'm like, that's AMD, dude. All right, what else are we looking at, guys? We looking at anything else? I will definitely pick it apart, give you some analysis on it. We'll be good. What's a good beginner app for passive investing? Weeble's good for passive investing. You can do fractional shares, which is really cool. And then you get free stocks. So if like you invite other people to the platform and stuff like that, you get incentives, you get free stocks. Sometimes they do, if you sign up and fund your account with $1,000, we'll give you free stocks. So there's a lot of incentive to get free stocks. I remember back in 2021 when I signed up with Webull, I funded my account with $1,000 because that was the minimum funding amount. And then you get to spin a wheel for a free stock. And I got Facebook. I got like 2 or 3 shares of Facebook that was valued at $1,000. It was like, that's cool, right? I put 1,000 in. I got like 3 shares of Facebook. It was like $1,000 worth of shares. And I was like, cool. I already got my initial investment back up. But Webull's pretty good. They have the incentives. Short bias today, depending on Powell. I don't set a bias. And I don't recommend you guys set a bias either. So yeah, no bias. I'm neutral. Always. 100% of the time. I come in neutral, man. I come in bullish and bearish. Right? I'm right down the middle. And I just, because again, I don't care what the market does, right? If the market wants to set up for an A+ long, right? I want to be on the long. If the market's going to set up for a really good A+ short opportunity, I want to be able to identify it and take it short. And sometimes when you come in with too strong of a bias, it blacks you out, right? Where it's like, I'm short bias, I'm short bias, I'm short bias. and it just blacks you out to seeing any potential longs in the market. And you're just shorting everything you think to see to be a short. And you look back and you're like, oh, there was actually several longs that I missed. And I missed those simply because I was too focused on the short side because I had too much conviction in my bias. It just never helped me. It's never helped any students I've ever worked with, right, to come in and set a bias. So I come in neutral. I'm not biased at all. I look at both sides of the market. I plan for both sides of the market, and then I just simply sit back and wait to see how the market sets up, and I go from there, whether it's long or short. Imagine coming in yesterday, like a lot of traders did, with a strong short bias. You got absolutely just burned. And again, it just comes from experience. I've learned the hard way, right? Coming in with a bias that I'm overly convicted in has never ended well. When I come in neutral and I just look at both sides of the market, I wait for the market to get to one of my key areas and I analyze to see what it's doing in real time, and I make a decision right then and there on what side of the trade to get in on based on what I see in real time. That leads to profitability. That leads to way more success in the market versus coming in with a bias. So all right, what else are you guys looking at? So that was Boeing, Mr. Tom. What's Micron doing? Can Micron get in the gap? Micron's in the gap. So Micron's still on high watch today for a gap fill rejection. All right. So this is the daily gap on Micron. This daily gap was created back in, what year was this? This is 2024. Oh, it was just August of 2024. July 2024. There's that big daily gap to the downside here on Micron. So where is the top of this daily gap? Well, we know the top of the daily gap is at 127.49. And we also know that when gaps get filled, we typically see gap fill what? Rejections. Where we come up, fill the gap. There's more sellers up here than buyers. And what do we typically see? We see the stock reject and fall off the top of the gap. So that's the plan for today on Micron. Is we come up, fill the daily gap at 127.49. That's where we want to be playing what? Put contracts, baby. Looking to get short there on Micron. All right. That's Micron. Still on play for today. URA was a nice little entry at 37 yesterday. Tom grabbed some of that. Good stuff. Even Amazon. Amazon came back down, hit the bottom of the gap, and popped big. So Amazon played out beautifully yesterday based on the analysis that we did with you guys. Came down, filled the gap, hit some of that demand, and then boop, nice little pop to the upside. So Amazon's off the list. It's off the watch list. It already came down. It's set up. It's pushed pretty nice. So that one is done for today. But that's what we're expecting with Micron, just to the short side, right? So we had Amazon yesterday, had a gap to the downside, right? Amazon comes down, fills the gap. We get a gap fill bounce to the upside. Most of the time, when you see gaps get filled, you see a nice big move shortly after. So it's the same concept with Micron. It's just to the short side. So we want to see Micron do what? Come up and fill the gap. And then see what? A rejection. And most of the time, we get a pretty nice move to the downside. That's why I want to keep Micron on high watch today. What else are we looking at? ES? Yeah, I can rip ES. Because we're actually going to get you guys set up with some props today. All right, a lot of you guys are starting to make that move in the futures just to have more freedom, more exposure to opportunities versus just options. And I know a lot of you guys are considering moving the futures. A lot of you guys are in the process of doing that. So at some point today, we're just going to go take you guys through the process of creating an account with Top Step, getting it set up with Trade8, getting it linked with TradingView, building your ATM setups, making sure you guys are dialed in on the futures side. So we'll definitely be doing a lot more analysis on ES, NQ, silver, gold, oil in the future as we start to see more traders kind of shifting on over to wanting to trade more futures. So we'll definitely spend more time there. But let's rip ES, man. Let's do it. And I already got mine set up too, so we're good. All right, so we still have some of that supply, right? We just want to go ahead and mark up that supply. I know price is through it this morning. Actually, we're kind of still inside of it. I still want to go ahead and mark up this daily supply zone, right? And then normally when I saw that big hit right here, because that's one big hit off that supply zone, I was just readjusting my supply zone up to look at the area that was not hit. So that was still that supply zone left over where price hasn't revisited. We came up here. That's one hit. And then right now we're working on the second hit of that daily zone. Remember, the daily zones all go up to the third hit. So this is technically the second hit of that untouched supply zone. And I guarantee we can flip this down and see some good structure on like the 4 hour, the 1 hour. So I already know that we're still sitting inside, right, of some of the remaining daily supply on ES. And I know that you were also grabbing this candle here and marking up the 24th. And you were looking at that tight overlap. I'm going to flip down into the 4 hour, the 1 hour. So I'm really looking at the supply zone that we're sitting in right there right now. Let's go rip this into a 4 hour time frame. Let's go look left. We're looking for any kind of 4 hour supply. He goes, there it is. There it is. I don't like all that sideways on the buy. What day was that daily created? On the 26th. So where's the 26th here? That's all the 26th. There's the impulse out. There's your rally-based drop. Right there. You look left. You see the first impulse out here. You come back up, hit. So we're going to readjust that a little bit. Yeah, there's going to be several little 4 hours that we can stack inside of that daily. Go into the 1 hour. It's not clear on that 4 hour yet. Look at the 1 hour time frame. Break down. That was off those highs. Come down. You base on the 26th. So you come down. Where's your 26th? That was your base on the 26th. There was your next impulse. There is your 1 hour. Before that impulse out. Up. Yeah, the 1 hour is a lot clearer than the 4 hour was. So let's go ahead and throw that little 1 hour zone up there. We still see price is inside of it right now. So this is already looking like one of those confirmation plays, right, Kevin? Where it's like, okay, we've beaten up that supply zone. Is it going to fall out of it? And it's like, we just don't really know. I don't have tremendous amounts of confidence that we're going to necessarily fall out of that supply zone, seeing that price has been sitting here for the past, 5 hours, right? But if we like fall out of that supply zone, and then we see any nice little lower high formation setting, and we have additional confluence as well, yeah, that's when I would start to say, okay, let's get the short out of supply, right? Waiting it to actually fall out of supply first. Not getting in here and being the guinea pig, but waiting to see if price falls out. Let's see if we fall underneath those prior lows. If so, any lower high formation we have with confluence, that would be the good short. And just waiting for some extra confirmation to enter that trade. So that's what I'm seeing on the daily, the 1 hour. Let's go back to the daily and let's do more analysis. How do you feel about a fib from all-time high to correction low? Like a fib extension? So if we were to take a fib extension from the all-time high down to the bear market low and run it back up, we're already above those fib levels. So would you have initially ran a fib from swing high to that low here? You could have absolutely done that and been utilizing these fib extension levels as confluences to the upside for areas to get short, right? We come up, we hit the 50%, nice drop. We come up, we hit that 38.2, we back down a little bit. So you could have been utilizing that fib extension as additional confluences as we were pushing up for opportunities to get short for nice little day trades, short-term swing trades. But now that we're above that 236, me personally, I'm removing that fib extension because I don't trade off the extension to the backside. All right. So, I mean, realistically, what do we have like close by, nearby? Well, we have the daily supply. We have that 1 hour supply. I know you've been working that overlap here as well. I'm just going to mark it up because I know you've been also looking at the overlap between that secondary candle here before the 26 candle. But I think that's just what it comes down to, man. If we really look at the, ES, and we're thinking about a short, it literally just comes down to letting it fall out of supply, building a lower high for us with additional confluence to get short today. Where to? I'm still looking at a 1 hour time frame, and I would say just down into some of these little 1 hour basing candles that we had from yesterday's session being some good, realistic little take profits, right? If we do see an opportunity to get short to the downside. But we've only really identified shorts, right? I want to look at the opposite side of the market and say, okay, what if we get through all of this supply and we continue to see the market push higher, right? How much higher can we go? Where would the opportunity be to get long, right? So I'm looking at the daily, and now I'm just looking at basic daily zones of like support resistance. So you got this decent little daily zone of support resistance here on ES. So let's go ahead and let's just dial that zone in. I'm really just building off of all of those prior highs that we had back here, where we come up, hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times those previous all-time highs, October of 2024, before we broke down pretty big. And I'm really just looking at this area here and then looking to see, have we respected it since? Yeah, we got below the zone, stayed below it here, big dump, came back up, and we've been hitting that zone of resistance for the past few weeks, right? So that's a pretty dialed in daily zone, if I say so myself. And so where is that daily zone at? It's between 60.92 to 61.04. So it's a 12-point zone. So it's a larger zone, but I mean, it's dialed in. I mean, that's the zone that we want to be looking at here. So that's going to be a nice little zone of support. What else do we have to the upside on ES? Yeah, dude, it's just like, it's hard. It's not hard. It's just challenging to really find those zones through all of that daily chop. It's just not clear. It doesn't just stand out and slap you in the face. But that's your nearest daily zone of support. And I'm just looking for your next key daily zone of, say, resistance to the upside. And I would start looking at this zone up here. And I'll give you the zone here in a second. I'm working it. Dialing this mother trucker in. All right, cool. There it is. 61.65 to 61.73 is going to be the next best level of resistance to the upside. We got daily zone of support, next daily zone of resistance. We have some of that daily 1 hour supply. We got some of those lower time frame zones of demand from a 1 hour time frame. So, all right, let's build the plan, man. Let's build the 2 plans. Plan number 1, short on ES. It needs to fall out of supply. Okay? Needs to fall back below that daily zone, come back up, retest that daily zone as resistance, build a lower high off that daily zone. Then we take the short opportunity on ES. And then we utilize those little 1 hour basing candles as some targets to the downside. So that's, still the first plan, is waiting to see ES fall out of supply. Now we know we also want to see it fall below that daily zone of support. Simply put in a lower high off that daily zone of support. Now as resistance, obviously, and then we'll look for the puts down into some of those little 1 hour demand zones. All right. That's the short plan. What is the long plan? Well, if we come down and we hold that daily zone of support, we could definitely see the next leg up, but the only thing that's going to make that challenging, just logically, mentally, is, okay, we break that daily zone of resistance. Now we're going to test it as support. It looks good. Let's get long, but you still have some of that supply overhead. Is that supply zone beaten up? Yes. Does it make me feel more confident that we can get through that supply zone? Yes, but there is still that, in the back of your head of there is still supply, right? You may not break it. You may come down, hit that zone of support, bounce a little bit, and still see supply respected and see it move on lower. So you just got to be mindful of that. Doesn't mean we can't trade the long. We just got to be mindful that we got to still be working through some of that supply to really get that pop and really get that push to the upside. So just really just dialed in, focused trade management if we see the long setup. But that's going to be the long. Come down, stay above that daily zone as intraday support, and then see the opportunity to play long for the next leg up. Where to? Pre-market highs, and then our next daily zone of resistance up around the 6160s. There on ES. What about that 1 hour fair value gap above your one zone? Are you looking bullish or a bearish fair value gap? Yeah, we'll talk about that in the Zoom because I got to get that Zoom fired up, baby. D Griff, it's been a minute, man. What's up? What's up? What's up? Bullish? Are you looking at, you said an hourly fair value gap? Like the remaining piece here that's already been hit? Like that one? Or are you looking a little bit lower? Are you talking about like this larger FVG? We'll talk about it on the Zoom and see which one you're discussing. But yeah, I like both sides of it. I think we could, obviously see a pretty nice setup take place on ES. But we'll just have to see what we do down around that zone of support, guys, and kind of go from there. We stay above it. We play calls. We get below it, stay below it. We take puts. Long and short. There we go. All right, cool. Let me get the Zoom loaded up. We will get the other stream fired up as well. Give me one moment, and we will be ready to rock and roll. I will see you guys there. If you guys are on the Tickety Talk, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you guys learned a little something today. We just released our new course, a free course in community. So if you guys want to tap into the free community and get access to the free course that I just put together as well, go click the link in my profile here on TikTok. You can sign up completely for free, tap into the course, get some help inside of the free community. I think there's like 50 seats left because we're only taking on 100 people for that. So I think there's like 55, 56 left or something like that. But go check it out. It takes like 2 minutes to get set up, guys.